Well, I'm Alan Houghton. I'm the chair of Friends of Swanage Bandstand.
And this is a lovely bandstand behind you, but it hasn't always been like this, has it?
Well, it was originally in 1923 when it was first opened. It was beautiful. And we've actually had it redone in the colours that was done originally, which is perfect for us. And it had been in 2012. It'd been deteriorating. It wasn't maintained properly. And in 2012, the council decided after a storm that they would take all the top down, and theoretically and supposedly to replace. That was never done, and which was a great shame. And it had been gradually allowed to deteriorate, and once it was highlighted that they threatened to pull the rest down and fill this space in, and it was highlighted by a local resident, Brenda in Ticknap, and I saw that and I thought, we're not having this. We're not allowing this to be taken from the town, our heritage being taken, and hence the forming of the Friends of Swanage Bandstand. With pledge, once I got the pledges, I got loads of pledges from people. So we formed the Friends of Swanage Bandstand. Luckily then, we managed to get registered very quickly as a charity, and then I could call the pledges in, which puts us where we are.
It did look very sad for quite a long time, and lots of people will remember that it was very sort of desolate, this area.
It was dreadful. It was actually dreadful, because as you look at the columns here behind me, you'll see the columns are white going up to green, and from the green upwards, that was all disposed of. All that lovely architecture was supposedly scrapped, and the only thing they saved was the finial from the top, and that's still got to have a little bit more work on it to get it back as it absolutely was. So again, we've done well.
So the town came together, and so how did you actually start getting the funding in?
Well, I said to the council that what I was going to do, I was going to form a group and go for pledges for people that wanted to see the bandstand restored, and that triggered everything. The council decided that they ought to look at it more seriously about filling it in, and they called in a bandstand expert, Mr. Paul Rabbits, and they actually arranged a meeting at the Emmanuel Church in Victoria Avenue. And they were shocked because there was well over 200 people turned up at the meeting. And it proved to the council and to everybody else that they didn't want the heritage taken. And then we asked more people to pledge their money, which they did. And in total now, as a result of that, the council realised that there was a lot of support to have it back. And we've raised now in total £145,000 without the council.
But other people did contribute. You got grants from other people, is that right?
We had a grant from the Coastal Revival Fund, which is a government-run trust, which was good, and that pledged us and gave us £40,000. We had another £10,000 from the Talbot Village Trust, which was taking us up. There was another trust, the Raymond. You'll have to forgive me, I can't remember. There was a couple more, and there was also a lot of people locally who pledged a lot of money as well. Several businesses. The DP Lovell was one of them, and Sattle's Quarries another, and that gradually built the fund. But the other thing that did it was that we had the charity tins all around the town. At one stage, I had about 40 of them around the town, and people were just putting in all their loose change. Some people were putting £5, £10, and overall, the whole thing just gelled because everybody wanted it back.
So once you got the money starting to come in, what was your next move?
Well, then we had to, once we knew we'd got enough, the council actually pledged originally when they see, well, before they saw we'd got the real money, they pledged £50,000 towards it, because I suggested to them it would cost them 40 or 50,000 to fill this in. And they said that they would pledge the money. Well, I've spoken to the councillors since, and not one of them thought we'd ever get the money. So then once we started, we said, well, we wanted all the stone refurbished and cleaned, repointed, several stones replaced. And then they decided, because they had to put new drains in, new electric supply, and then they decided to add another 30,000 for the work that they were doing, because they were doing all the paths and stuff here as well, which was a major job. And then, as it all came together, the next thing they had to go out for estimates. And
well, I guess the council, from their point of view, they actually saw that this was something that the town really wanted, and their job is to respond to, you know, what the people want, I guess, and that's basically why they wanted to come in once it seemed to see that it was going to be such a success.
That is absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. We had to put a new electric supply in. They moved one of the lamps, widened the top here. So the money they were spending was, they had to put more money to it. But I'd like also to add, one of the firms here that was really, really good to us was the co-op, the local co-op. And they donate to 3 local charities every year. And across the country, they gave to local charities £17 million. Now, in Swanage, they gave three charities, and we were one of them. And they gave us £14,288 towards the bandstand and the seating. So now the bandstand's back, and the rest of the money now is going to the seating, which will be done.
So how did you start rebuilding the bandstand?
Well, what they did first, the contract was awarded to a company up in Wigan called Lost Art. Now they specialise in restoration of cast iron works, particularly bandstands, and they've done several of them all around the country. Just before they came here, they refurbished the Leamington Spa, which was actually, as it happens, the same model of bandstand as ours. But ours was special because ours is a sunken bandstand, and it's rare. There may be 2 more in the country, that's it. And so they went out to tender, and Lost Art got the contract. Then what they had to do, they had to get the contracts for all the groundwork. The groundwork was initially commissioned by a company from Dorchester, construction firm, and they did all the groundworks. They subbed the stonework out to a couple of local stonemasons who were really, really good, and the electricians. That all had to be done while all the groundwork was being done, all the underground cables, and again, we've been extremely lucky. Some of the local firms that were working here was good, which we wanted to see, and we don't know. We're hoping that maybe one of the local firms will get the seating, which again is all good for the town.
So all the wrought iron had to be sort of recast?
Yes, well, all the columns were saved and had to be sandblasted and treated and then repainted, and that was all done in Wigan, ready for just putting together here when it was returned. The interesting thing about it's a McFarlane bandstand, and when they made them originally, they made all these bandstands to a set size, so that all the panels were interchangeable. So if we wanted to take one of the panels out and put in a different panel in the middle, you could, because they were all made to set sizes, so that everything was built so that it would be easy to maintain. And But all the top section above the columns all had to be replaced, except the finial on the roof.
It sounds a bit like it was a flat pack, you know, original
Well, that-
Victorian flat pack.
Yeah, well, actually that sounds good. But the firm that did it were very professional, and I'd never call them MFI.
I just mean in terms of the way that they seem to have been built.
Yeah,
to
I
a
understand.
certain
I understand that.
standard, yeah.
It's just my bit of fun. Just my bit of fun.
So then it was all finished, and then there was an opening.
Yes.
Tell me about that day.
Well, we had planned to open it a few weeks before, and the Lost Art had told me it would be finished on the time. I spoke to people, they said, don't call it off, it will be finished. But the council put pressure on me and made me cancel it, which was a shame, because I'd been assured it would be done, but the council said they won't give a written guarantee that it's going to be finished. And the day that we were going to have the opening ceremony, that was the most beautiful, beautiful day, and we had performers all booked from 10 o'clock in the morning for the opening ceremony, and from 10:30 then the music was going to start, and it was going on till between 9 and 10 o'clock at night with all the different people, the singers, the groups, and all had to be cancelled. And as you know, we opened it on the 26th of October, and we did it in the pouring rain, and we still drew 400 to 500 people in the pouring rain, and everybody was smiling. They were all cheerful. Believe it or not, they were soaked, and they've all said what a moving thing it was to have it on that particular day, and in actual fact for me made it extra special.
I did hear somebody say that actually it was more of a baptism than an opening.
Well, there is that side of it as well. There is that side, and but I was just so proud of the town for turning out, because it was something that they actually wanted. They supported it, and they wanted to support the opening, which I thought was fabulous.
And you actually played some music on that day as well.
Yes, it was unfortunate because the band were geared to play, and because of the risk of getting all the instruments wet, only a small group played, and they played a song that had been written by Brenda in Ticknap, the lady who wrote the letter originally. So that was it, really. That was it, and that was the opening.
It was a great day.
Oh, it was a fabulous day, and it made me really, really proud of the town. So, which was fantastic.
And what's the next stage now?
Well, the next stage now is we're into the next stage, because we've been battling right from the start to get seating in here. There was continuous seating in here, but the council, it wasn't maintained properly, and it was run down. And as the things were deteriorating, the council were ripping them out. So we suggested, the council wanted to do standalone seating, which we didn't want to do, and we said that we wouldn't fundraise for it. But we said we want continuous seating. We'd like recycled plastic, because the town has a policy now that you can't perform on any of the council sites here with anything that's single-use plastic. And so we said, well, it makes sense with that policy to go for recycled plastic seating on metal base. And we said, because they wanted wood, we said, well, we will support the wood. It's not what we want, but we will support it, but you must maintain it much better than you did the last lot. And but we still push for recycled plastic if we can have it.
I suppose some people would prefer a bit more traditional.
Agreed, and there's part of me is like that as well. But at the same time, do we want trees cut down in West Africa, because it was going to be Iroko, which is where it all comes from, And do we want to take trees down, transport them all over here, have difficulty when we want to renew anything that's been damaged? We didn't want to do it. And it made sense, really, to do what we wanted, which was, and now we've got what we want. That's what's going to be, recycled plastic.
And what's going to be the first event?
Well, we've actually got, on the 18th of December, we've got carols being sung up here, which was what I hoped to do this time last year, and we obviously that didn't work. But we'll have Christmas carols at 6 o'clock on the Wednesday evening of the 26th, and we'll probably be up here for about an hour and a half. We won't have the seating, but we expect the seating to be in for April, about April. But we've got Harmony Rocks Choir. We've got several people who want to perform here on that night because it's going to be special for them as well. So, yes.
So you're looking forward to the summer?
Well, yes, because we'll have the band playing back in here again. They'll do, I'm hoping they'll do half a dozen performances here through the summer. We've got other bands who are coming down. They're booked already to come in and play. I think the folk festival want to use the bandstand. We're hoping the carnival will use it again, because the bandstand was always central to the carnival when we were young, and they did the choosing of the carnival queen up here. We used to have the bathing bells up here. We used to have the fairground. You know, the fairground used to turn up here and through carnival. That was wonderful. So that's helped us push for what we wanted here.
So back to the heyday.
Back to the heyday if we can, but also the thing we really want to see here. You know, there's a lot of the older people who've contributed here, but we want the young people up here. We want the young people to use it. We'd like them to have the sort of music up here that they would like as well. And we feel that the youth, it's important that the youth protect this and use it.
Swanage is a very special place, isn't it?
Oh, you're not kidding. Swanage is special. It's got a wonderful community spirit here. When I must be honest, when I first started to do this, people laughed at me because I was walking around this town with sandwich boards on my back and on my front to save the bandstand. And it made me laugh because each time I passed a group of people together, you'd have a bit of fun and they'd go, woo, you know, like in a bit of fun. And they say, what are you up to? And, oh, that's right, they do that. And then they say, the end is nigh, you know. And it really amused me. And of course, it gave me the chance to speak to the people, the holiday makers. And it amazed me how many holiday makers actually loved the bandstand. How many holiday makers have since written to me and pledged money and given money towards the bandstand, because they'd come here, they'd come up here. Some of them were young courting couples, some of them were just starting off with their families, and they'd get their fish and chips in the town and a drink, and they'd all come up here and sit here, and they had lovely memories from it. And I hadn't thought about that until I was doing my sandwich boards, you know, and I've got some super letters from people of support, and that's all going in the museum when it's all finished.
So apart from the bandstand, which obviously is very special to you, what other bits of Swanage do you like, you know, which you like to enjoy and visit?
Well, I enjoy the coastline here. We're very fortunate. We've got a magnificent coastline. We've got all these wonderful walks. The seafront, my real pleasure is to walk along the seafront and take in the view. And I think how fortunate we are to live in such a place. And of course, because I like talking to people, and I love the visitors that come into the town. And I get loads of these people that come over, they get on the bus at Bournemouth, they're on holiday in Bournemouth. So they got on the bus and come over here, and they'll sit outside one of the cafes here, as I do, and share a table with them, and they talk about Swanage, and they say how lovely this is, how wonderful everything is here, and how they desperately love to live here, but they can't afford it. And I think that says a lot about the town. The sadness for me is that it's a low wage area. Bearing in mind that the property is so expensive here and the young people can't get a start here because all the council houses have all been sold off, which for me was definitely a mistake. But if I'd lived in one, I'd have bought one. But I'd like to see a higher wage here for people and more work so that they can actually provide for a family here and afford to live here. But that's difficult.
So more investment in quality jobs.
Yes, oh yes, definitely I'd like to see that. The difficulty is it's a bit of a cul-de-sac here really. You know, we're sort of 10 mile out of Wareham and you've got to come here and go back, and which is a bit of a nuisance. And of course the view is that if you want to go for a better job, go to Bournemouth. And you go to Bournemouth, it costs you all that money to get there. And then if the ferry's off and stuff, you know, makes it more difficult to get there. So that's a sadness for me. I'd like to see stuff here change so we've got more young people who are able to work here, stay here right through. But it's virtually impossible. If you want to be a worker, it's quite often impossible to actually make a living, a good living here, where you could afford to buy your own place.
Well, the world is changing.
It is.
And there are different opportunities, so maybe more people will come here and base their businesses here. You know, broadband, Wi-Fi changes things.
Yes, yeah, I see that. But the difficulty we have here, of course, is that because there's lots of flats here, always used to be hotels here. When I was a boy here, they were all hotels. They've all changed, they're all flats. And of course now we've got so many people, and don't get me wrong, if people want to have a second home, I say good luck to them. If I could do it, I'd probably do it myself. But the sadness for me is that we've got all these people who are desperate to live here and come here and buy a second home here. And of course that then makes it more difficult for the young again. And the real sadness is that through the winter months, most of them are left empty. I would think probably a third of the town is empty through the winter months, which I think that's tough.
The thing is, a lot of the business here does revolve around the tourist industry. So attracting people down to Swanage, having things like refurbishing the bandstand, that actually does bring more income into the town, doesn't it? So you've done your bit a little bit to help towards that.
Yes, yeah, I like to think that because it's an added feature in the town here, added attraction. The thing about the work, the difficulty is here, you're really only looking 12, 16 weeks work here. So for a lot of people, there's not the work here to keep them through the winter months. So that makes it tough. I think it makes it tough for the young again. But I think we should do all we can to help them and try and be maybe a bit more tolerant of some of the stupidity there is with some of the young. But a terrific amount of these young people are really good, and we've got to support them.
And this summer we'll see them perform at the bandstand.
Oh, we
young
will.
People, older groups, different people.
Yes.
Different music.
Yeah, we certainly will. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And as I drive down the road here in the mornings, because I only live just up the road, I come down here and I see the roof on the bandstand and I think, yes, how lovely that is. And that's what the general feeling is. So I'm proud of the people in the town. It's pretty good.